Hello, and good morning, everybody. I'm your host, Keenan. Welcome to the March 3rd, 2022 weekly DXdao community call. Lots of interesting topics to run over today, including a discussion on the global governance gathering, swapper fees, and the Codeless Conduct Hackathon. Apologize in advance. I am still recovering from COVID. I might have some rough voice, coughing, or I might need to step away from the mic at some point throughout this call. Just before we get started here, the 2021 Swapper retrospective and forward is now available on both DAO Talk and Twitter. It's a really good peek into the accomplishments and future objectives of Swapper. I'll drop a link here in chat in a moment and would love to answer any questions that arise here in the open questions segment at the end of the call. But without further ado, let's kick it off here. Ross, are you around and willing to chat DXgov?
Yeah. I think it's been a little while since there's been a DXgov update, just because ETH Denver, and I was off last week just for a holiday. I guess most of the ETH Denver stuff has already been discussed, so I'll avoid talking about that. I'm sure it's been probably most of what was talked about last week. Although I did post my thoughts on DAO Talk just briefly on someone else's thread. They were mostly the same as what had already been highlighted by others previously, but from the DXgov side, quite a lot's been happening actually. We've had a pretty major refactor to the cache is the main thing, from at least the public side. So that should in theory mean some faster load times. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, hear you okay.
Okay, that's fine. So some pretty major refactors from Augusto on the DXvolt side, which should be improving quite a lot of things, as well as just improving things on like the maintainability side of things, since it's pretty complex code. And I guess the other side of things is it's guilds, which is going very well actually, and we're now getting to the point where we don't have a ton of things left to implement. Like the list is slowly getting shorter, and hopefully we'll be testing that for some internal things soon. I'm hoping to get it into the hands of some power users and get it tested, and then from there it should just be a short amount of time getting the audit, and then it'll be live and ready for everyone. Things are going well. I've also been expanding the team a bit more. Just before ETH Denver, we onboarded one new member, Kenny, and I think he's passed his trial period on DXvolt as well. And I think we may be getting someone else onboarded shortly also.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Ross. And very relevant to the one question I have left here with me. This user asks, are there plans to add additional resources to DXgov based on the ETH Denver discussions? I think kind of addressed by that, but maybe you want to give a bit of color.
Yeah, so, I'm sure it was already covered, but one of the biggest takeaways from ETH Denver was kind of that governance is a bigger deal now. People are more interested in it. And I think like one of the things I highlighted in my post was one of the things that kind of sucked was not being able to give people like a direct solution to governance. Like we can tell them we're working on it and they can follow along and stuff. But it'd be awesome if hopefully at some point this year that we can like give like a full proper package to anyone that asks us like, oh, your governance sounds cool. How do I start? And so that's kind of what we're aiming for. And I don't think we've necessarily talked about directly hiring just because of ETH Denver, but we've already had like expanding the team before ETH Denver, and I think mostly coincidentally around ETH Denver we've had a lot of people interested in joining the team as well. Maybe something we'll talk about a bit more. Although it does push the team. I think we're probably at our capacity for onboarding new developers at this point.
Cool. Thank you very much, Ross. Any final thoughts here before we move on?
No, not really.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Then we'll move on here to the developer side of things. I think one of the squads that we've seldom gave updates on here on the community call, but John, would be great to have some context on the developer side of things.
Sure thing. So yes, the developer call happens weekly at this time, but on Tuesdays in Jitsi. And this week, the focus, we typically are doing updates across the project, and it's kind of just, what has been released, what's being worked on, anything technically challenging or interesting that people want to bring up and share across the teams. Right now, the teams being Swapper and governance with kind of full-blown teams, and then Carrot with a smaller kind of more agile team, I guess. Yeah, really mostly Federico with some support from others. And this week we focused on this concept of using a keeper network fork for Carrot, and then also how that might be extended to other use cases within the DXdao ecosystem and beyond. So in the next version of Carrot, will be a more flexible system that supports different templates for different types of rewards, as well as different types of oracles. And with oracle systems, you have this need for updates to happen kind of to finish like executing. Like you either need to be collecting the data or like calling the oracle, etc. And some of this is just things that you would ideally want to have automated. In blockchain, you don't have the ability to program actions directly into the blockchain itself, right? Everything relies on external call coming in and like prompting an action in the blockchain. So unlike, kind of traditional software servers where you can just kind of program cron jobs or just kind of repeated tasks, you can't program that like directly into smart contracts. So the way to approach that is to incentivize the actions that you want to like, automate, so to speak. And you can kind of achieve this automation through an incentive program. And so Federico has been looking into this a bit and has actually been talking about how that system may be designed. And he brought up some of these ideas on the dev call this week, and we'll probably be going into more detail on that like in upcoming dev calls as well. So I think it's very exciting because I can think of a handful of use cases across the DXdao ecosystem, not just Carrot, but also, with governance, when you're needing to boost proposals, redeem proposals, execute proposals for buybacks, for DXD, and then also, for Swapper when buybacks are happening, actions need to be automated, and there's also just the fee collection itself on Swapper is another example of something it would be great to have automated. And I think we will have many, many more cases like this in the future. And it's just a kind of an important utility and piece of infrastructure in blockchain. And I think DXdao having a homegrown version of this will be, really powerful, and I think will lend itself to a lot of the governance stuff we're focusing on as well, and not just the DeFi stuff. That's all I got for now.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much, John. Let's move on now to the global governance gathering discussion. I think we have Sky here if you want to give some color to the event, what it is, what it means, and why we are interested in it.
Sure. So there's an organization called the Daoist, which is actually forming a DAO itself called Dawn. They have been doing a bunch of different DAO-related events over the course of last year. Two big ones were in Paris and then also in Lisbon. DXdao participated and supported and was sponsors in both of those events, and they were really great events. And DXdao had decent presence at at both of those, gave talks, had a table, was on panels. And so currently, I think this week there's a Taoist event happening in Mexico in Spanish in Mexico City, and then the next big event that they're planning is during the week of Dev Connect, which is a week-long event in Amsterdam, and there's this global governance gathering, which is GGG, which is the name of this event that the Taoist is organizing. It is a 2-day event where there's kind of talks and workshops and tables, and then there's another day with panels and kind of more open discussion and things, I think. So it's kind of a variation of 2 different types of days. And there's an opportunity for DXdao to once again sponsor and participate and support this event. And there's a forum post about this event, has some of the details, what it entails, what it means to sponsor the event, what comes out of that. And it's looking like DXdao will have a decent presence, maybe about the same size, maybe a little bigger than it had in Denver, in Amsterdam in April. And so, deciding where to kind of put DXdao at the front of all the different events, the Taoist, which is a very DAO focused event and has been high quality in the past, and we expect it to be high quality again, seems like probably the event that we would want to support rather than any of the other events or hackathons. And so there's a poll in the forum, and if the community supports it, we'll do a proposal to officially decide to sponsor GGG. And as there's if we choose the highest top sponsorship, which is called patron DAO. Yeah. We'll get part of that is attendee spots, a table, a talk and a workshop, and then also a special activation. And special activations open for imagination. So if anyone has any ideas that we can work alongside the Taoist group, which is very creative, and we can bring ideas, they can help us form ideas, and we can do something that's kind of memorable for DXdao at that event. And it would be a great way to kick off that week of Dev Connect in Amsterdam. It's earlier in the week. I think it's like the Monday and Tuesday, or the Tuesday and Wednesday of that full week. And so that's kind of the background of this. DXdao, as an early supporter of the Taoist from the beginning, also is a member of the Dawn DAO, which has governance power of the Taoist and its events and things. And so we can start to govern that community as well. So that's a summary. If anyone has any questions, they have an awesome website. It's going to be at a cool venue called Tobacco Theater, which is really unique, and it's right in the middle of Amsterdam. It should turn out to be a pretty fun week, and lots of awesome events happening.
Yeah, thank you, Sky. I do have one question here left with me. Excuse me. First question here, or I guess only question here, is: has there been a discussion on an annual event budget? I'm assuming this is referring to the discussion that was held in the Discord a few days ago.
Yeah, good question. So before this year, DXdao didn't really attend any events before this past year. And so we have some data around a few of the main events that DXdao has showed up at, has sponsored a few hackathons, has produced merch. And so the DX Voice squad and the Contributor X squad are in the process of gathering some numbers to summarize kind of what the costs have been around the past few events, to get an idea of how that fits into the overall budget, and whether it's part of marketing, whether it's part of growth, awareness, and the different areas of DXdao. but we'll share that as soon as we have more gathered information about that. And that will help us probably plan for kind of budget and events over the course of this coming year. In the meantime, this kind of one-off proposal may come at the same time or sooner than we have all of that information. But yeah, the transparency of what DXdao is spending to bring contributors to produce merch, to sponsor hackathons, and then what comes out of that is very important and will be transparent, or already is transparent. If you go back and look through forums and stuff, I think you can gather all the information, but it's not all put together in a clean summary, and that we'll try to do that for everyone.
Yeah, for those of you listening to the video or at home, Chris here says in the chat that he's working on a broader expenses/budget post that is almost done. He'll be sharing soon. I think here at DX Voice we'll be focusing a bit more closely on, as Sky mentioned, kind of a formal budget as well. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Sky. Let's transition here to the swapper fee temp check. A very interesting post on DAO Talk today. Just seeing if we have Venki here to chat.
You hear me?
Hey, hear you loud and clear.
Nice. So following up the talk from last week, I made 3 new polls in DAO Talk, just to try to figure out what should be the right fees for these pairs. And based on the vote, the next step would be to create a snapshot proposal for each of the pairs. The poll ends, I think, maybe tomorrow. So I think it'd be really good if we can have more people voting on it.
Yeah, excellent. I just dropped the link to that post here in the chat as well. The temp check update swap fee in DAO Talk. Namely, and I'm not sure if you mentioned it last week, Venki, but the main pairs that are being voted on specifically here is Swapper against XDAI, Swapper against WETH on Arbitrum, DXD against WETH on Gnosis Chain, and DXD WETH on Arbitrum.
Yeah.
Excellent. I do have one question here. Maybe you'll be able to answer, Venki. But it's related to this. When will LPs be able to vote on these fee adjustments?
And that's when the guilds are ready. I'm guessing end of June, July. I'm not too sure. Ross or John probably will be able to figure out.
LP governance. Hey, sorry, Venki, I think you were cutting up a bit, but yeah, the LP governance will be reliant on the guilds, and the guilds, the focus, and Ross can kind of jump in if he wants, but since he's not on stage, I'll try to stand in. The focus at the moment is on the Swapper Guild for the Swapper SWPR token governance, and all that entails, and then the LP governance has taken a little bit lower priority after that. So I think we'd be hoping to roll out the Swapper Guild governance in the coming few months, and then I think LP guilds could follow that pretty quickly.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if you had any final thoughts here, Venki, before we move on.
No.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Venki, for stepping up here on stage. Let's move on to the next topic here, which is the Codeless Conduct Hackathon. DXdao has kind of been focusing on in the last couple of days. Chris, are you around to give some context?
I am, but I'm walking because the train was going to be 10 minutes, and I decided that wasn't worth waiting. So anyway, yeah, so we have the Codeless Conduct Hackathon, which, a simple idea. How can you have a hackathon that engages non-developers, people interested in Web3, DAOs, DeFi, and kind of encourage them to, or incentivize them to do things that contribute to those things just in the same way developers do, but other types of things. So DXdao sponsored this. It started last Wednesday. We had a nice kickoff call. There's a bunch of other projects in this. 1KX, B Protocol, Tally, Gnosis. I think it's actually Gnosis Safe, maybe specifically, is the one who's got their bounties. There's Nexus Mutual, a couple other projects. And DXdao has 3 bounties right now. They are, one is, I guess we're calling, quote, real governance memes. So just trying to create memes about DXdao and basically kind of contrast to other DAOs. And I think a lot of people here definitely agree that we have a different approach, and we want to highlight that, and memes are a great way to communicate. So there's a bounty for that. That's $350. And there is, secondly, a swapper tokenomics proposal. If someone's interested in tokenomics, they want to kind of propose something. This was kind of 2 ideas on that people had to work through is having a tokenomics that was based upon directing the protocol fee itself, and then also kind of the curve VE style, and whether those things could kind of be put together. I think there's one person that applied to that. I think there's about 4 or 5 that applied to the DXdao memes bounty, and I think there's one that has already been submitted. You can check out. And then the third bounty is video content. So we have a couple of different. The swapper bounty is $500. The video content is, produce a video about things that are interesting about DXdao. So there's a couple of different options. Holographic consensus is one, right? That's really important to our governance process. Governance 2.0 is a really big one, right? How can maybe we could create some content or a video that explains what we're trying to do with unified reputation and token governance. There's a multi-chain approach. And then I think there's one other one I can't remember off the head. There's a couple people that applied for that. That one is $1,000. But looking for some nice, sleek videos, partially inspired by some of the work that Nathan had done with the ENS video. So looking at kind of incentivize some of that content for there. The hackathon goes till next, I think it's actually Thursday. I think it goes 15 days, not 14 days, but it's there. So you can check out the bounties. Hopefully, there's a link in the chat there. Yeah. And we'll be kind of talking about how to vote on them and kind of select them in the coming days. I think the memes one will be cool. We will kind of share it on some of our socials. And, that's the whole idea is you have these pictures that have, hopefully funny, interesting things about DXdao on them. So that'll be content that we can use both in terms of the ones that win, but also kind of anyone else. And then obviously the other hope is that this kind of expands the brand, or maybe even attracts someone who's interested in doing more content, right? We have different people maybe want to do consistent video content for that. So, the Codeless Hackathon till next Thursday.
Thank you very much, Chris, and thank you for letting the bus pass there. I have one question left with me. Are memes submitted to the Discord launch meme contest eligible? I would say my perspective would be probably not, but I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what that thing was. It was some big carrying something of air. I hope not gas. But so they actually do need to go through this formal channel. So the Codeless Hackathon is actually happening on Gitcoin, right? So Gitcoin has an easy to use platform for managing bounties. They're all linked to a specific GitHub issue, and so you're kind of there. And so the only ones that will be eligible are the ones that are actually going through the formal process. But always happy to have memes, and if you make a dope meme, you should definitely ask for rep. Maybe something else, and I think people would give. So encourage the memes.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much, Chris. As Chris mentioned, anyone is welcome here to participate in Codeless Conduct. Lots of things here, and the links have been put in the chat. You can find them above, and those of you watching the video, you can find it on the Codeless Conduct Discord. Excellent. That actually makes it through the majority of the agenda today. Do have an open question period here. Curious if there's anyone that had any questions, anyone that wanted to chat the Swapper 2021 recap and forward. If not, then we can end a little bit early today. Excellent. Not seeing anything coming through the chats here. We'll call it a little bit early for today. Just one small interesting thing that we are going to be exploring coming soon. Obviously, we have the weekly DXdao community call currently here in Discord. There is an interest in exploring Twitter Spaces. We've talked about this a bit in the past, and we're considering a cadence of a kind of bi-weekly community call here in the Discord as normal, very informational, maybe a bit more formal. And then our other week, we'll have bi-weekly Twitter Spaces that are a bit more broad, a bit more, including interviews, a little bit more of informal chats, stuff going on in the ecosystem. So that's a very interesting thing that we will be exploring. No current time frame on that yet, but something that we're interested in doing sooner rather than later. And just seeing Chris has stopped at Chick-fil-A here as the final comment of the community call.
Easy on the waffle fries, Chris.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending the weekly DXdao community call here on March 3rd, 2022. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Keep an eye on the chats and community update areas for any changes. Thank you very much, everybody.
Carol?
Thanks, Keenan. Thanks, everyone.